everybody. Welcome to Gonzo Film Reviews. This is episode 9, I believe, or 10. Either way.
I believe so.
We're at a turning point, or a milestone. That's the word I'm looking for. We're at a milestone, so this is a little miniature birthday for the podcast. And we didn't celebrate very well. We botched the celebrations big time. Unfortunately, we chose certain little film to commemorate this achievement of getting through some 9 or 10 episodes. And we had a choice. We had two choices. We had two big ones. We had Downton Abbey was one of our options, and option 2, the one we went with, drum roll, was Family Camp.
And boy, was it interesting.
Yeah, and if you guys are all sitting going, what the hell is Family Camp, you know, you're not alone.
We don't know either.
Still don't know.
We sat there and watched the whole thing. Honestly, I still don't have a clue what that movie's supposed to be.
Yeah, the most important thing I took away from that film was that, man, this theater's a bit hot.
Yeah, no, I was actually sweating. Like, it's a good thing I wore like a dark shirt, or else it would have been dark by the time I left. It was a very hot theater.
And I can guarantee folks that like half of that sweat was just stress from what he was seeing.
Probably. I couldn't tell.
So the problem with this one is I don't even know where to begin.
I guess I could pick a spot, and I could let you off the hook from there, and we can go with where you start from there.
Yeah, go for it. Let's try it.
All right, I'm gonna give you a topic of discussion for it. Character. I want to say character motives.
Okay, yeah, let's start there. There are, let's say, 10 main characters, main protagonists in this one. There are 2 stereotypical families of 4. They are the main protagonists. I don't remember the names of most of these people.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember the names. So far, when we've been talking about it, we've just called them the mom, the dad, you know, the other guy, the other woman.
Alright, let's give these folks a general rundown of who's in it and who's who. There weren't any actors that I recognized from anywhere else before. So
I recognize one.
which one was that?
The mother of like the main family the story follows. She used to play the mom on Good Luck Charlie on Disney Channel.
Oh, cool. So
Yeah, so she's also a Disney actor. Yeah, but that is the only one I know. That is the only one I recognized. In all honesty, her character in it might actually be one of my least favorite ones.
Yeah.
Not necessarily due to her acting ability, because she's a very good actor, or actress, but, it's just very not thought out.
All the characters were
With
either
how
1D or 2D. We had no 3D characters. We had no...
They were very half-assed, it felt like.
We had no good character arcs, character development. And yeah, so basically, you had the main family. Father, mother, teenage daughter, and younger son.
Young boy. Yeah.
So the father is always working. He's never not working, and he keeps coming late to church. And so his wife hits him with his golf cleats and physically and emotionally threatens him that if he doesn't go to church camp, then she won't forgive him for being late to church. Because that makes sense.
Yeah, they kind of like just throw you into the story assuming that you'll understand that this has been going on a long time. Like, they never... You just kind of are thrown straight into the center of the problem going on in the family, which, in all honesty, from a third-party perspective, it's not like the father was, the stereotypical, like, always working, never paid attention to his family, like, rude person. He still, like, talked to them and spent time with them. He showed up, late, but he showed up, and, he was a very loving father, even though he didn't have a lot of time. And it didn't ever mention whether, the mom worked. Like, she never talked about her job or anything she did. And the dude just looks exhausted. I mean, like, I'm sure he would love to just stop working as much. But it just seems like their ability to find a solid reason for them to have to go to the camp in the first place was not very good.
Not at all. There's a movie called RV where Robin Williams played a similar character.
Oh, I love RV.
But his character actually had motivation and complexity. And there was a lot of comedy and sticky, funny situations involved, unlike this movie.
Yeah.
But I understand what they were drawing from, because they were trying to go for the RV and the kind of cliche story where, like, oh, wife is fed up, so everybody has to try and make her happy, because God forbid the woman is dissatisfied and not being pleased at every second of every scene. So she was very he showed up late a couple times, so she starts hitting him in a crowded church setting. Like, she just sat through a sermon about forgiveness, and then she started whacking her husband with cleats. So I mean, I don't think she got the message. I don't think she learned anything from Jesus that day. And then she just starts threatening her husband, saying things like, "You're not present. You're here, but you're not present. And unless you come to church camp with us and camp in a tent, then you're not going to ever be present." I'm like, okay, is that true? Or do you think you can just sit down and talk about it? Because he's a rational man. He's a pretty honest dude.
Yeah, he didn't seem like he was fighting her on it. He didn't want to go to, church camp, but, a lot of people who aren't, like, really religious wouldn't want to go to church camp. Like, nothing against it personally myself, but, like, I can't say I would go.
Especially the one that was advertised at that church. Like, it seemed so...
Yeah, it was more of like a cult.
Yeah.
More of like a cult thing, especially, like, not... It won't spoil anything, but there's like a fire pit scene. It just looks like a cult.
Like a cult. They sing like a cult. They talk like a cult.
And it's very interesting because what I meant by, I don't know what this movie is. I don't know what genre it falls under. I know what it's trying to be, but it's not. Like, it keeps pulling the rope in different directions. It wants to be a family comedy, but then it also wants to be this redemption story and a religious like a movie that would follow the ideal that, you know, trust in religion and your problems will be solved if you devote yourself.
The mortal danger problems.
Kind of thing.
No less.
Yeah. Yeah, that it does kind of say that a lot. And that's the thing, like, the movie never mentions that kind of stuff. It's kind of always in the background, but the characters only ever explicitly mention religion or faith whenever there's an issue going on. Like, only whenever there's a problem or something that needed to be fixed or changed, that's whenever they would reference how important religion is and how important it is to have faith. And over again, these characters would have these, you know, fights with each other and with themselves, thinking that, like, oh, well, you know, this isn't happening, even though I'm praying, you know, day in, day out, so I might as well just do it myself. And then, whenever they get what they want, they say that it was all because they prayed. So I don't know, it just hits me in a very weird way, because the story and the characters don't always head in the same direction. It seems like they're pulling on different ends of the rope at some points, you know? Like,
They have a lot of issues.
It's such a headache to think about, because normally I could kind of get all my ducks in a row with these kind of things, and I could walk out of the theater at least with a summary of what the what the movie was supposed to make me feel. And all I did was leave feeling confused and kind of disappointed, because, you know, we sat through that movie.
The whole thing, yeah. I mean,
The whole thing. We even stayed for the after credits, and that was possibly the biggest waste of time. I'm never getting those minutes back.
yeah, we'll get to that one later, but yeah, that was against our will. We didn't even want to stay for those. But
Yeah, that's
basically,
true.
yeah, it's I'm gonna break it down in several ways. The characters were incredibly inconsistent, not just over like from the beginning to the end, but also from scene to scene. So they tried to set up this rival family that had to stay in the same tent as the Rational Man's family. They try to kind of set them up as like these perfect Christians who get everything right, but they make it very clear though that these people are nuts. They're crazy people, and not just in a religious way, just mentally they're crazy people. They act like they've never seen civilization before. So there's that. But then they try to set them up as this perfect functioning Christian family unit, but the only thing these people care about or want is to win some stupid trophy by beating up other families. Like, these aren't even religious competitions. It's not like correctly name where this passage in the Bible comes from. It's literally like, let's play murder soccer with big bouncy
Inflatable balls.
armor, and it's just like, well, okay, we learned something about God today. Beat up a little kid and kick the ball in the net. Like, it was so weird.
There's
didn't
archery.
make much sense from scene to scene, and then the pastor was completely useless. Like, the most he really did was just like burn a stick and then let the other guy just start pontificating about like 3 burning sticks means that Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are here, and we should reflect on that or something.
Don't forget the priest's advice.
Yeah, and he just
His all wise advice.
our our rational protagonist, at one point, he's realizing that he's having trouble connecting with his kids, and his kids are having some issues with them, so he asks the pastor, he says, life is very just overwhelming, and it drags you in so many different directions. So then, after he opens up and says, "Can I be honest?" and then proceeds to be honest with the pastor goes and restates what the man said. He says, "Well, life can pull you in a bunch of different directions. Just, you need a guide." And then he walks away. He walks away. He's like, "You know what you need, Sonny? You need a guide. Good luck finding that guide." Just fucks off. Like, what?
He never fully explains what he means either. He compares it to a compass. He makes a reference to how a compass works. He was like, the purpose of a compass? He was like, it's so you can find true north. You're never lost. And he's like, so you need a guide. And that's where the conversation ended.
He just walks away. So our protagonist is not only being kind of bombarded by hypocrites that in one scene he thinks they're the perfect Christian family, then in the next scene he thinks that they're a wreck and that their marriage is falling apart. He has this weird insecurity about them that he shouldn't have based on his experience with them. Like, he should be just kind of confused by them and repulsed by them and laughing at them because they're just so nuts. Why would you ever want to even compare yourself to them anyway? Like, he shouldn't want to be like them because they are the opposite of everything that he aspires to be. And then he spends half the time trying to at the camp trying to make some work calls, and this causes his own marriage to kind of start falling apart because his wife, he says, "I just need a few seconds on this phone call." He takes 30 seconds, comes back, and then she says, "We need marriage counseling." It's like, what?
Well, and to be fair, he was only ever on a work call twice when they were in the camp. And again, both times he was not on the phone for longer than 30 seconds. Both times.
And we have to introduce his rival because he closes deals for crimes.
I don't even remember his name.
Whatever this bald guy's name is, he looks like a drug dealer from Euphoria. He looks pretty similar. I don't think it's the same actor though. So this man steals our protagonist's client by committing identity fraud and going to the firms and telling the clients that he is actually the name of our protagonist. And then he calls our protagonist and tells him that he is impersonating him and stealing his clients. And no authorities got involved, obviously. There were only 2 calls.
They never go back to that.
He just disappears off the face of the plot.
Yeah, they mention that he's with his client under his name, and they never expand on that. He never thinks like, oh, he's impersonating me. Nothing like that. He's just like, oh, darn. And then later on, he hears from him again. Mind you, he's with the client still.
Speaking directly,
and he calls him by his name. Like, isn't he supposed to be impersonating him?
Yep.
And yet he calls the person he's impersonating and uses his name while he's sitting directly next to the man he's supposed to be. Like,
yeah, that's like if I told a kid I'm Santa Claus and then I pick up the phone and make a call and I say, "Hey, Santa. Hey, is that you, man?" Like, they're not gonna believe me at that point. Ugh.
I don't know, man. There's so many, like, plot holes. I feel like they wanted the movie to be longer, but they just ran out of either a budget or they ran out of time.
They wasted the whole budget on that damn CGI beaver. Like, the beaver was chewing holes in the film.
Oh, God. The beaver. The most unnecessary part of the entire movie. It served one purpose.
Unfortunately, we have to call it a character because it was just in that much of the movie.
Yeah, it was there pretty much the whole time, and it was weird. I really didn't like the noises they had it make.
No.
Like, they had it make little people noises. Like it would squeal, but it would be more like a moan or like a sigh.
It sounded like my
a
girlfriend
human
when she
sigh?
took the last cookie. That's what it sounded like.
Oh god.
I'm not going to impersonate it because I have no idea how to do that.
I don't know how to do it either, and frankly, I don't even
We're
want to
better
try.
off for it.
We're better off.
So the
not.
main
Yeah.
conflict arises. I mean, they're at this stupid camp and they're fighting for no reason over a trophy that only one of the families even cares about. And for conflicting reasons, our two-dimensional protagonist wants the trophy. Like, he wants it even though he didn't even want to come to this camp, and he doesn't seem to care about anything else about the camp. But he wants that trophy that you get for beating up other families. So the completely irrelevant to the whole theme of Christianity or religion or whatever is driving the entire film. The entire plot is driven by but non-religious things, and then they try to tie it into a nice little bow at the end with a religious epiphany theme, and we'll get to that. It makes no sense, but the main conflict comes when the rival father, his name's Eddie, I believe, he's the crazy guy who plays harmonica and creeps people out and gives them back adjustments upon meeting them, because he's some kind of chiropractor, probably unlicensed. So they go, all the fathers, they go on a hike up a mountain because that's a smart idea, right? And so the fathers go up onto the mountain, and it falls apart from there. Everything gets worse. I would say that Eddie purposely gets our protagonist lost, and then from there just everything unravels, and anything that was even close to being realistic just completely evaporates at that point. Like the whole survival trip that they go on, what the camp does in response to the missing men and children that come out of the situation. The authorities are like, yeah, well, if we find them, we find them. We don't, we don't. Like, we're going to call it a night and try again tomorrow. They don't care.
Yeah, and you have to think, the only way that, the dad change is throughout the movie. I mean, he never really, changed throughout the movie until that happens. Because, again, it's not like he was really doing anything wrong.
Nope.
I'd say the movie should have been about how unappreciated he was.
Yeah, and how blamed he was
instead
for
of
anything that everyone else was doing.
But the thing is, because of what ensues, because of the hike and everything, his wife gets her way, and he's essentially mentally scarred forever and changed.
Yeah.
But changed in a way that, she wanted him to be changed. So, she benefits from it.
She got what she wanted, and the worst that she had to go
she got
through
what
was
she
crying
wanted,
for a couple
and
nights while she waited for her husband to return from the wilderness, hopefully alive.
Yeah, which, she couldn't even, properly watch her kids in the meantime her husband was gone, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point where I have to bring up the fact that, of course, all of the corny, sappy, really hard to swallow subplots, they get delegated to the women folk. It's the women's work, is handling all the emotionally hallmarky subplots. So his wife and his daughter are, of course, the ones that are making, these crafts that are supposed to represent how little time you have left with each other until a freaking high school graduation.
Bead jars.
And of course, there's that cliche as hell subplot where the teenage daughter is spending too much time with this hot boy, and it's ruining the family time that we used to have. Like, we used to do things that 12-year-olds would enjoy, but oh, the horror. Our 17 or 18 or whatever year old daughter doesn't want to do the things that interested her when she was 12 anymore. Oh, that's a sin. We gotta burn the sinner and stone her and get that devil out of her because she spent a little while with this hot boy. And she
she was
ended up
very concerned.
And as always, it didn't end well anyway, because for the sake of the plot and for the sake of her non-existent character arc, he had to end up being a dick anyway. So it's because she needs to have that moment where she just hits somebody in a fit of rage.
Well, she shoves him off
for
a bridge.
No reason. It's it made no sense that he would start the camp being such a nice dude and then suddenly just turn out the way he did. Without spoilers, as always, every single character in this, besides the frickin' beaver, didn't have motivations, didn't have an arc, didn't have consistent characterization, didn't have any sensible reason for any of their actions or thoughts or lines.
Oh god, does that mean that the only consistent character was the beaver?
Yes, because he consistently walked into the frame, giggled like a fucking serial killer, chewing on something, and then hopped on his merry way.
Left.
I think he was the closest to God out of everyone in the movie.
Yeah. Oh man. Well,
we have to talk about the resolution, because it's egregiously horrible.
The beaver's resolution.
No, not the beaver. I mean the main character.
The CGI resolution was really bad.
The return to camp, right? Spoiler warning, they survive thanks to the beaver. So the two guys.
You mean thanks to God?
Yeah, of course. God chewed the ropes. But yeah, it was. They get back to camp and then they get mild applause.
A mild applause. Yeah,
no
you're right.
Questions from authorities whatsoever. They come back to camp without being rescued, and the authorities are like, "Oh yeah, cool, they're here. Bye." And then that night, after these two men just spent days in the wilderness, presumed dead by the police of the area, they throw a little Jesus party, and they give the crazy guy who got them into the mess an award. They give him a bravery award for doing the Heimlich maneuver 3 days earlier. They didn't give the two men who just survived certain death an award.
Yeah, they didn't split the reward between the two of them for overcoming.
Thank God you're back. Holy shit. Lord, whatever. No, they literally just said, you know what? This guy did a Heimlich a few days ago. Wasn't that cool? Yeah. Yeah, let's give it up for Eddie. I'm like, you, what the hell? And then Eddie goes up there, spills the beans, admits to everything he did that caused the mess, and why he did it, because he wanted his wife back, because she wanted a divorce, because, quote-unquote, he wasn't giving her a voice in the marriage. So after he goes up and gives a long, self-pitying speech and cries, she walks up to the man who just spoke in her place for her, and she says, "Thank you for giving me my voice." And I was like, what? That was his voice, and he just
She didn't say a
mansplained.
single thing.
He mansplained his whole marriage to you and to everyone in the camp. He just mansplained your wishes and desires and private conversations that you had with them, and he just blurted it out to the entire Jesus camp. And you gave him brownie points for it, and you thanked him for letting himself speak on your behalf. So, good job, ma'am. I'm glad you got your voice back, which is just his voice speaking for you. Nothing changed. It's the exact same thing that you wanted to divorce him for. Like, what?
Well, it's different. He came back alive, John.
Well, I didn't think she wanted to divorce his corpse. I'm like, she wanted to divorce something. And so he came back alive, and she was like, oh, cool, so, you know what, Eddie, I want a divorce. And he was like, no, don't worry, I will speak on your behalf. She's like, oh yeah, that fixes it, thanks for giving me my voice. Like, you know what I was lacking in this marriage? It was my voice, so please go up there and speak for me. I'm like, yeah. Marriage solved.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially. Oh, man, there's so much that happens, and there's so little that actually mattered. I just don't know if we could even cover it all in one episode.
Yeah, I mean, the guide advice never was revisited.
No. So, honestly, how I think I would rate this movie. I'm gonna lean on the side of generosity and give it 1 thumbs down, and that's it. Not 2, just because, as horrible as the writing was for it, as terrible as having to sit through the entire thing was, it was the slightest bit entertaining.
It did have a good.
I would not go and see it again. Yeah, I would not go and see it again. But I don't entirely regret my decision to go and see it.
Well, one of the half-baked themes that they wanted this movie to be about was forgiveness, even though nobody in the movie really forgives anybody for anything substantial.
Only maybe 3 people in the movie actually did something wrong. Well, maybe 4, but...
Yeah, it's psychotic.
And none of them were the dad. I don't know.
And he was the most punished, and he did the least damage, and he sinned the least.
Yeah, I can't say he's entirely innocent, but...
Well, no, because he definitely got caught up in the competition and the insecurity. Yeah. But again, it was just so inconsistent with his character that they promised us. Because when you introduce characters in the film, you're supposed to be giving us either something that they need fixing, or they are something that a static character that doesn't change and is just there to serve different facets of the plot. Like the pastor was supposed to be a static, unchanging character who was just kind of a guide to people, to the protagonists, and advising them when they're trying to deal with the antagonists. But the problem is, he was a useless wooden plank who didn't do anything. So he just kind of like said a few things, did a couple things, and then just disappeared, and then just kind of smiled a bit when they came back alive, like, oh, that's cool. It's just like, okay, cool. So
the beaver was the static character.
No, I think the beaver was the only one who really went through any kind of significant change. He's the only one who had an arc. He went from chewing wood to that damaged bridges,
rope,
and he became a new beaver, and he chewed through rope that was trapping people, and he
survived a near-death experience.
It was an abomination. the theme was supposed to be a mixture. I think. Let's try to tie some of these strands together. I think they were aiming for forgive people, believe in Jesus even if it goes against your survival instincts and your likelihood of making it through the day. Coincidence can never exist, and you need a guide and you need to find true north, but we're not going to tell you how or how to even begin to think about how. I mean, we're just going to say you need it and then just drop the mic and walk off and expect you to know it. And then we're going to randomly throw in hillbillies looking for Bigfoot who have nothing to do with anything. They were there for one purpose, is just to make us miserable. But yeah, it's just...
Well...
So, they were trying to say forgive people, but I'm not going to forgive them for making this movie. I would... Like, it physically caused me pain in more than one section of my body, and I think that the time that I spent in that room is never going to be repaid. I'm closer to death for it.
We're never going to get it back.
I'm closer to death for it, and I have no way to reclaim that time. I will die 2 hours sooner than I should have.
It's taken 2 hours off your lifespan.
So when I do die, I'll be gasping with my last breath. I should have 2 more damn hours. Or fuck family camps. One or the other.
Nah.
It's just...
Nah, it'll just be, I haven't found true north yet.
Where's that guide, bro? Yeah, so I would give it 2 thumbs down.
No,
I would... Yeah, if I ever see this film playing again anywhere near me, I don't care what the situation is. I'm either destroying it or myself. So, yeah, if I'm in a car and it's
fair.
playing in the car, I'm crashing the car, and I don't want Jesus to take the wheel. If I'm in an airport, I see it play, I'm gonna book a different flight. If I'm on an airplane, someone else is watching it, they're going out the window. Like, there's just... Sometimes in life you have to draw a hard line in the sand, and this is one of those times.
That's your line in the
This
sand.
is my review.
Family camp.
We must rise up against things like this so that they never occur again. I can't believe this was approved for
if it
wide
wasn't
release in
half-baked.
movie theaters.
Yeah. If it wasn't half-baked in a lot of ways, it probably would have been an okay movie. Like, the cast weren't really bad actors. I felt like they just had a bad script, and it just wasn't fully thought out about where they wanted to take it or how they wanted to get there. I feel like they took all the rough drafts and they just kind of submitted them, and the person who was supposed to sort through them just went, oh damn, it's due tomorrow? I don't know, just use it all.
Yeah, and half the time they were like, copy my homework, but just don't make it look obvious. And then they made it look obvious.
Yeah, basically. How do we copy every Christian family comedy without copying every Christian family comedy?
We'll throw in a beaver.
Perfect.
Some hillbillies looking for
And not a real one.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, a CGI beaver. With terrible CGI. Didn't even look
They
good.
obviously didn't have the budget for a one-legged Bigfoot, because I swear to God, if they did have it, I guarantee they would have put him in the movie, because they just had no plans for what the hell was supposed to happen in the middle.
Probably. I don't know. You think that would have got him believing in Jesus earlier?
Seeing a one-legged Bigfoot? Yeah. He'd be praying to all sorts of gods. He'd be like, I'm gonna try them all. Zeus, Poseidon, Jesus, Lord God, I'll get this thing away from me. Like, he would try the whole gamut.
Well, there you guys have it.
Family camp, everyone.
Family camp, everybody. Please, God, let us not have to do anything like this again.
If you all have a conscience, do not watch this film. Don't do it.
Or do it and tell us if you hate it just as much. Just make sure you have the fortitude for it, because I'd hate to be responsible for anybody undergoing that challenge and coming out, not unscathed.
Oh yeah, we could. There would definitely be many
casualties to that movie. We are two of them.
You know what would be horrible is if we made a video where we played a drinking game for this movie. And it's like, take a shot every time you cringe.
Oh no.
I would be dead within the half hour.
No, man, take a shot every time the plot hook changes.
Yeah. Every time.
Take a shot for every subplot they have going.
Yeah, take a shot every time this film just kind of reeks of Hallmark Channel.
Yeah.
And urinal cakes.
You could make it a pretty fast drinking game.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of
Thinking
wipeouts.
about it. Yeah, quite a few.
Anyway, there are pleasant things to talk about tonight, though.
Yeah, there are good things. Very good things.
We have two and a half games to talk about.
I'd like to mention, just like I know we usually pick like one film and one game, but recently I've completed one of the games that I thought would take me a little longer to complete. I haven't like platinumed it or anything yet, which I plan to anyway. But yeah, I did finish main story. I've done as much of the side stuff as I possibly could on my way to it, because I was trying to hurry as fast as I could so I can cover it, because it's such a fun game, and the potential it reaches as you progress is just amazing. It feels like you're playing a whole new game as you progress, and it keeps you interested. And the game I'm referencing is Jedi Fallen Order. Now, I know it's been out for a little while now, but I just picked it up. PlayStation Network, it had it on sale in the PlayStation Store a little while back, so I picked it up and I started playing it a couple weeks ago. Been a little hard to find the time to complete it as fast as I wanted to, but I finally finished it, and boy, this game is something. It really is, and it makes me wish that the modern story for Star Wars went a little differently. I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I did not enjoy the most recent Star Wars movies. I am a die-hard Star Wars fan.
I think you're definitely in the majority.
I watched them. Yeah, I watched them ever since I was knee-high. I grew up on Star Wars. All I cared about whenever I was growing up was getting my own personal lightsaber.
Yep.
And since I watched these recent movies, with Rey and all them, it's just they've changed it so much. And, even George Lucas is unhappy with where they've taken things.
Yeah, he put way too
And
much
I can clearly
faith
see
in
why.
Kathleen Kennedy to faithfully steward Lucasfilm into the latter 2010s and 2020s. Like they messed up massively. I do have a question about the game
bad.
though.
Yeah.
I hear so many rumors about the sequel. It's definitely confirmed now. But there's also a bunch of other Star Wars games coming out. There's a really ambitious looking one that looks kind of similar to Dune. I forget what it's called. It's like Horizons or something. Star Wars. Oh, it looked so beautiful.
Okay,
you know what I'm talking about, like the drums
it does
and the
look really good.
Music and stuff.
Yes. It looks really fun. Honestly, I can't wait.
Does the first,
and honestly,
I'm sorry, My bad.
No, you're good.
I
You're
forgot
good, you're good.
I forgot to ask you the question that I said I was going to ask you. I got sidetracked by that game.
No, you're good.
And I can edit this obviously, but does the first game leave you room for a sequel, or do you think it's going to possibly feel slightly forced?
No, I see what you did there. But no, it leaves plenty of room for a sequel, and honestly, they did it the right way, in my opinion. They did it the right way they left it so open-ended, where it's like, alright, what are we gonna do now? You know, like all the possibility lies ahead of us. And that's kind of the summary of where it leaves off, is, you know, we got work to do, where do we start? And I cannot wait for the sequel. Honestly, that's probably going to be an immediate buy when it comes out, and I'll review it as soon as I possibly can. If we have a fan base by that point, at least big enough to care, and I know we have plans to eventually get like a YouTube channel up, you know, stuff like that. Maybe I'll even post sort of like a let's play type thing, and maybe we could go through sort of like a Gonzo let's play channel. Just spitballing ideas here, but I think that would be pretty cool. We'll keep people engaged, and we could probably even do a live stream to play it, keep in touch with the audience. It'd be nice to hear from people.
Like a spin-off kind of thing?
I know you're... Yeah, sort of. Kind of just like a sub-branch of the channel, you know?
That's probably what we should launch our TikTok with. We should start streaming on there, because you don't have to jump through loopholes. You can just start streaming immediately, pretty much. So with YouTube, you have to get like 100 watch hours or something.
Right. Well, I mean, we'll see. But anyway, the game is just fantastic. You start out kind of slow-paced with your character. You know, Cal doesn't immediately have that influence with the Force yet. He doesn't have the techniques with his lightsaber yet. Matter of fact, you know, he only has like one half of the lightsaber, which in the game you can get it double bladed, so kind of like the Darth Maul style saber. But as you progress through the game, you start to realize like it gets more fluid. You get more options to get around. You get to open more passageways that kind of make sense with the pacing of the story, which is amazing to me how they pulled it off, where your character progression is progressing at the same rate as the story progression. Granted, that's only if you're like gunning through the story like I was, but if you're really taking your time, you could probably just grind out the levels. You could probably just grind out the levels before you get too far, but you'd have to be real patient. Because like mini bosses and whatnot, I don't believe they respawn. So once you find them and start fighting them, and you finish that fight, it's kind of over. Good XP sources are a little hard to come by, but the storyline is just riddled with them.
I've played almost half of it.
The game, the game just evolves as you go, and it feels like a new game every time you unlock an ability, which is such a rare thing, by the way. Like, I don't remember the last game I played where, simply unlocking the ability to double jump unlocked so many possibilities. It made me feel more free within the game to kind of play in a way that suited me. I want to say it unlocked possibility, and it made me feel like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air.
And along that branch of thought, there were two things that blew me away about it. One was the beautiful way that they interwove your actions with cutscenes. So sometimes you couldn't even tell
Absolutely.
whether it was strictly RPG mechanics or a cutscene. Like, they looked like they were both at the same time. And that's just some of the most beautiful footage that video games have to offer. And then the second thing that I loved was that for once I was playing a game where it wasn't a full-time job just to upgrade and acquire new skills. So what did you think about the skill tree? And
oh, I loved it so much.
'cause it was easy for me.
And XP was hard to come by at times, but that's only if you were doing what I was doing, where I can't help it. I'm a completionist. I would spend time just running around discovering areas of the map, and I wasted a lot of time doing that for the purpose of trying to speedrun the story, but I spent a lot of time just exploring. And man, these maps are so much bigger than you really think they are. I mean, you go to a set number of planets throughout the game, and it's so much fun. The leveling system, and I think the skill trees are perfectly made. I believe that your progression all depends on you and your playstyle, which is what I love. Me personally, I prioritized my lightsaber skill tree way more than like my force tree. So I'd say first things I leveled up were my survivability and my lightsaber techniques. There's nothing more satisfying than deflecting a blast back at a stormtrooper.
Oh lord.
Especially whenever you get good enough at deflecting where you can deflect back and kill one of those like minigun stormtroopers.
Even in what I'm going to call the cold open here was when you, at the very beginning, when you're escaping on the train and the first batch of stormtroopers pops up. Oh, just the way that you learn how good the blocking system is, and for the first time ever, I actually felt like a real Jedi playing a video game, because he was doing it right. He was blocking their shots, and I was able to like time it and send it back to them, and it was just beautiful because I was like, wow.
And it felt like your timing really mattered in the game too, and it challenged you, which, as a fan of like the Soulsborne games, I am a very big enthusiast of timed block.
Mm-hmm.
So like because in like Dark Souls and whatnot, you have to be able to parry, you really have to be able to time that, which the timing's very different in Jedi than it would be in any Soulsborne game. But my point being, the mechanics of the game are beautiful, and they really do a good job at keeping you feeling like you're a big part of what's going on. And what I mean by that, and I'll expand on it, is a lot of games kind of give you leeway whenever they're story driven, and they don't really challenge you too much whenever it comes to this kind of play style. But I love that there's some challenging puzzles in the game, some that really make you think and look about your surroundings, or backtrack and unlock new abilities and come back so you can solve it and figure that out. The ability for you to replay different areas and planets in the game is amazing. Which, there's not a lot of games that can keep you coming back. And you even unlock like a little bonus activity whenever you beat the game, which I'm having fun with, is you can like meditate and train, which meditation is kind of like the these little save points you'll find around each planet, and you meditate at them, and then you can rest to regain like health and like health charges, and also enemies respawn. But I guess it unlocks an extra option where you can do meditation training, which is very fun.
That sounds really cool.
I've only done it once or twice now. It's very fun, and I'm also loving the customization in the game. I am having such a blast being able to choose, what poncho Cal wears, or the color of his outfit underneath. Whether I want a poncho at all, or the color and material that the Mantis, the ship you fly around in, is made of, what it looks like. Even BD-1, your little droid, hangs out on your shoulder half the time. You could choose what his color scheme is, and your lightsaber is your own. I did my best to make mine look like Obi-Wan's because I'm a big Obi-Wan Kenobi fan.
Same here, man. Everybody better be watching that show. It comes out in 3 days.
That's right.
3 days.
I cannot wait. Maybe we should review it after we watch it.
We're definitely doing that. We could. I mean, I'm tempted to even do an episode by episode review and post them individually on YouTube, and then do like a final big series one sometime when it ends for this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, that would be fun.
Yeah,
that's definitely something we could plan on.
I'm that excited for it.
It's coming up quick. I would love it, and I hope they don't disappoint because
Yeah. Kennedy has the capacity to royally destroy things.
They cannot destroy Obi-Wan. I will go there and burn down the headquarters. Yep. But I mean, my overview in the game is, man, it's kept me interested the whole time. And there's so many things I've yet to even unlock. Like, there's different materials of metal and whatnot you can choose your lightsaber to be made of. You can customize everything from, the emitter at the very top of it, where your lightsaber beam comes out. You can customize the switch, like where your button is that you press to cause it to work. Your grip, like the handle, and whenever it's double-bladed, you can customize and make it so that like the ends of it are different, which is really cool.
Yeah, you can do all these really subtle.
You could even
tweaks.
change your color of your lightsaber, like the beam's color. You could be a Mace Windu fan, have a purple lightsaber. I personally had mine the suitable blue until toward the end, then I made it cyan. But like, it's such a gripping story too. I mean, even whenever you start to kind of like get frustrated sometimes, because there's definitely challenges. Like me, I'm a quite stubborn person. I ran into my first mini boss by accident because I traveled a little too far. And I didn't stop challenging it until hours later whenever I finally beat it. And, mind you, the level I was at, I was still, like, beginning of the game type of level. And so this thing would just one-shot kill me.
Yeah, I mean, that'll happen. It definitely happened to my sister when she threw the game in for the first time. She's an even bigger Star Wars fan than me. And she was definitely...
Oh, yeah.
It was her first big console game, so she was really struggling to figure out how to make the controller become an extension of her. So she had no idea how to do even basic things like climb that wall. So everybody in the room was like, do that, no, do that, go there, no, hit that button, no, up there, try there. And it was crazy, but she eventually became, better than I am at the game. She's the apprentice.
A console warrior.
The apprentice surpassed the master in this case.
There you go. Well, I mean, I did have to change some things in the settings of the game. For like the climbing, you have to hold the left trigger to like hold onto the wall while you're climbing. I did change that to automatic grab, so I could just kind of jump at the wall and grab on.
Yeah.
That just kind of made my playthrough a little more seamless. If you like a more interactive thing, by all means, keep that on. But I don't know. I felt like it made the game a little easier in some ways. You'll still have to implement it sometimes. Like, you could swim in the game. In some parts you have to swim. And to grab onto a wall from, like, out of the water, you have to press the left trigger anyway. But you don't have to hold it.
Yeah, overall,
there's...
like, where would you put this on the pedestal of, let's say, Star Wars games? Because there have been really good ones before, like Force Unleashed.
There have been really good ones. I love the Force Unleashed. It honestly gives me reminiscent vibes of the Force Unleashed, just a little less explicitly violent. There's not the gore of, like, if you slash a stormtrooper, its limbs don't come off, you know what I mean? Which, part of me was a little disappointed about that, just because I like that type of stuff. And also, I guess it's also kind of targeted a younger crowd now. Star Wars is Disney. At least now it is.
Sadly.
So, they kind of had to cut some things. I understand that. And, I'm willing to make that sacrifice to play such a great game. I'd say among them, I give it a solid 2 thumbs up for the experience. The look of the game is absolutely gorgeous. The cutscenes and the gameplay, you really can't even tell the difference, like you were saying. There's quick time events, not really like singular button mashing or singular button pressing, but there is button mashing. In like lightsaber clashes, which are a lot of fun. The boss battles are probably my favorite fights. You also have a lot of interaction you make with your fellow characters in the story. There's a lot of character progression, and nobody really stays 2D. They're all three-dimensional characters, and with their own stories and personalities, and it's honestly really amazing to see the growth of them, which often, side characters are skipped over, and they're usually just supposed to be the support for the hero. But I really enjoy how the crew of the Mantis and those on your side really feel like, they're part of what makes things happen, and they're part of why you're able to do what you're able to do to become the hero. And it's honestly a very solid all-around game.
Awesome. And then similar sci-fi stuff, I finished a game recently too, and it was actually pretty fun.
Yeah? What was that?
This one they called, I think it was Doctor Who: The Edge of Reality, and it's a semi-sequel to a game, a VR-only game, that was called The Edge of Time. So I don't actually have VR, but this one was released for console, so I played it on the Series X. It's very interesting. I don't know if there's any Doctor Who fans that listen to us. We're a dying group as of late, thanks to the quite horrible writing of Chris Chibnall. But the dark times are ending. Russell T Davies is coming back as showrunner. He was the one who revived it from 2005, and he ran it until 2010. And then Stephen Moffat took over. And Moffat's hit or miss. Sometimes he has a great story, sometimes he completely fumbles and forgets how the whole writing thing happens and works. So, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's awful, but at least he had 50-50. Chibnall's just terrible all the time. He doesn't even understand the basics of characterization and motive and character arcs and story progression and all that. But that aside, the game was incredible. Whoever's making the game is doing way better than whoever's making the show currently. Because since 2018, the show's been dreadful. But it was a first-person game, and it was very fun that way. It really puts you into the shoes of the random person who gets called by the main character, the Doctor, to save the damn universe because he's stuck. So it's all up to you, and you're getting instructions at different points. You're getting assistance, but it was very, very cool because you get to do things like play with sonic screwdrivers and fight all the villains and monsters that you're probably familiar with if you've watched a good amount of the show. I would say the freakiest section of the whole game was the point where you go into this house and you need to retrieve something from the crypt in the bottom of the house. And first you need to get the key to the crypt. And the entire house is taken over by these creatures called weeping angels, and they're probably one of the scariest monsters that the show has ever had. So they appear in statue form, and they look like angels. They cover their face with their hands, but anytime you blink or you take your gaze off them, they can move lightning fast and just completely devour you. So anytime you're looking at them, they turn to stone. It's like a defense mechanism. And every time you're not looking at them, that's when they're free to be in their actual fleshy bodies, and they can move incredibly fast. And the voices in that game. I was wearing headphones too. It was terrible. Creepy freaking voices. Telling me that they're coming to get me, they're coming to eat me. Because I was playing a phonograph, and then the recording ended, and then the voices kept going. So yeah, just creepy little demon angel freak things telling me they're coming to kill me and eat me. It was very fun. But
yeah, we all love that.
I mean, who doesn't? It's an average Friday night. So yeah. But no, it was really fun. It was a great celebration of a bunch of different points in the show, different seasons, and everyone's favorite David Tennant came back for some scenes in it. He plays easily the most popular version of the character, the 10th Doctor, because every time he dies, he regenerates into a new life, and that's the way that they're able to keep the show going, even if the lead actor can't continue doing it. So every time he sustains mortal injury, his race, the Time Lords, can heal themselves by regenerating and getting a new body, and it changes every cell in their body too. So it was really cool to be able to revisit the old one, because Tennant is coming back as well next year for the 60th anniversary of the show, so that's gonna be great. But
wow, there you go.
It was just really fun. You get to go through all these locations, and you get to actually fly his ship, which is probably everybody's dream if you ever watch the show. Every kid's dream. You just want to be running around that TARDIS console and like flipping switches and hitting things with hammers and pulling cranks and levers and stuff, and listening to the beautiful noise that kind of sounds like an elephant giving birth as the ship moves and dematerializes and rematerializes somewhere else. It was just beautiful. It was well done. It was scary too.
Well,
I'm rarely scared by first-person games, but this one did it.
Huh. What would you say? Is there any kind of progression system in the game?
As far as like bosses?
Yeah, just like is there like an upgrade system? Is there like a leveling system, or is it just solid progression throughout the story?
Yeah, it's solid. It's not really an RPG. It's more of an experience. So it's kind of like,
there we go.
Imagine Dishonored if you didn't have powers. So that's kind of what it's like. You're kind of forced to go through Dishonored without powers, and that's kind of what it's reminiscent of for me, because you don't really have a skill tree or anything. You don't really have powers of any sort. You're just a normal person who gets thrust into these situations where you need to collect these different items and defeat these different monsters in order to get to the bosses and then beat them. And I would say, yeah, probably the most difficult part of the game, you take control of a creature called a Dalek, and they live inside these basically indestructible shells. Like if you Google those, if you Google them, you'll see they have the design. It's very unique, but their helmet, the headpiece, it contains a long pole with a blue orb at the end of it, and that's the eyepiece. So you have to slowly use their vision, that one tube of vision, and while they're attacking you because they know you're an imposter. So that was difficult because every time you took damage in that level, in that scene is more accurate to say,
Yeah.
your screen, your vision would, what's the correct word? It would retard. That's literally what would happen though. Back in time.
What it would like? Oh, you would go back?
Let me try to explain in better terms. The show has been around since
Or
1963.
would your vision
so
just like darken? Is what you're
in
saying?
a way, but it's a little cooler than that. The show's been around since 1963, and it's obviously had different levels of quality since then, and different technology available. So, in the original 60s run, it's obviously like a very small box of black and white static. So that's what would happen every time you would take more damage, a lot more damage. Your vision would get worse, and it would revert back to the visual quality of previous eras of the show. So if you took enough damage, you would kind of see a mid-2000s level of vision, and then you took more damage and you would kind of see like a 90s TV screen as your vision, and then you take more damage and then suddenly it's getting down to 1970s quality, and then finally when you're about to die you start seeing the tiny little black and white static box of the 60s. So it literally shows you the TV quality of like each era every time you take more damage, and then if you're able to win and your health slowly regenerates, it brings you back to full vision. And it's really cool to see, you know, going forward and backwards in time in a way. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of a game doing that kind of thing, so I mean, that sounds really cool. Like, I've never heard of a concept like that, and it seems, honestly, just like the kind of thing that would happen in Doctor Who.
It's a hell of an Easter egg.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of amazing. Makes me curious. I mean, honestly, kind of want to see it for myself.
It's worth checking out. It's a pretty cool game. It's called The Edge of Reality, and I honestly didn't even experience many bugs either, or big glitches, which was very satisfying and relieving, because
Good.
I'm used to playing like AAA American-based games, or things made by companies that know their stuff, and this one's kind of a smaller indie company, and it's licensed by the BBC, obviously, and their budget's never very big, so yeah, but it was very cool. It was rewarding. It was incredibly rewarding for any fan of the show and any fan of specifically Tennant's version. There was some very beautiful payoffs to some of his past stories towards the climax of the game, so I would definitely check it out if anyone just wants to experience what it's like to just kind of be in the character's shoes in a way, using their tools and using their thinking and thinking the way they do and flying their ship. It's very cool. It's a very fun game. I thought it was worth plugging real quick. I mean, I had a good time with it, and I'm excited about the show again for the first time in 9 years. It's been 9 years since I really was excited to see anything come out of this show. I mean, it's been a while, so I'm glad that it's getting a little bit exciting again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you decided to talk about that. I mean, and honestly, it makes me want to check it out. And I know I haven't been a long-standing fan of Doctor Who like yourself, but I have always thought it interesting. I simply I don't have much of an excuse other than just not having the time typically to sit down and watch it. But I mean, what you just talked about and how passionate you are about the show and even the game you just got done describing, I mean, it makes me want to, set a day aside in the week and really invest myself in checking it out. Which I'm glad you brought that up, and I hope that people out there who are listening will check it out too, because it sounds like a very worth it experience.
It's a good time, and it's not too expensive either. And I mean, I could prescribe to you something if you want. Here's my doctor's prescription.
Okay.
If you have HBO Max, if you don't, let me know. I'll help you with that. But if you do have access, literally just like throw on an episode a night, starting with season 1, episode 1, from what they provide. It's really all you need, because it's very difficult to get into the classic show, because I do not currently know of a platform that hosts those series in order. And there were 7 versions of the character in the classic show that ran from 1963 to 1989, so I really don't expect people to be able to dig into all that and to get it in order. And some of the episodes are even missing, like the studio doesn't even know where they went, the copies of the film. So I would just say
it's like lost tapes.
Yeah, I would say just if you could find any of Tom Baker's episodes for free, check a couple of those out. But otherwise, you can get into it and you can fully understand everything if you start with the new version of it. It's not a reboot, it's just a continuation that re-explains some things so that people, won't be confused if they didn't have the luxury of being able to either be alive in the old days or have access to those seasons. So yeah, I would recommend for you, just if you're interested in getting into it at all, just pull up HBO Max, or let me know if you don't have it and I'll give it to you. And just like, they're only 45 minutes per episode. Just watch one a night and see if it sticks with you.
Yeah, alright. And who knows, maybe I can get my girlfriend into it too. We'll watch it together.
Oh, she would probably like it, I would think.
We're always looking for, a new nighttime show to put on.
It's very unique. It's definitely way more fun and interesting than watching, something like a CW show. So it's like, it's very, very unique. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a bigger thing now. It's like Lord of the Rings in a way, I would say. It's kind of like that, smaller scale.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely check it out. I'll let you know about the whole HBO Max thing. I might as well just get it myself, because, there's so much stuff on there. I might as well.
It's becoming a behemoth, yeah.
It really is. I mean, and Netflix doesn't update half as much as it should. It never has.
Sadly.
But that's a whole other,
we'll talk about them another time.
Can of worms we won't open. Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. But, I know I could probably take a guess at how you would rate this, but give us a quick rating as a recommendation for those who want to check it out.
Okay, actually I could do that. I would say that a way that people could probably understand this, if you are a fan, and even if you're not, well, yeah, that's derailed. I'm gonna start over. repeating the question, please?
So, how about you give us a rating for this game, so that way you could give a recommendation of sorts to those who want to check it out. Our usual thumbs up, thumbs up on thing. See if you want to do that.
All right. Well, I will give it 2 sonic screwdrivers up.
Oh, okay, cool. Sounds good.
There you go.
I can only imagine.
A screwdriver noise.
There you go. Yeah, that's what screwdrivers
Sound
make.
effect.
That's the only one I know them to
Well,
make.
it's Sonic, and he's an alien, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that pretty much covered most of our bases.
Most of it. I want to do a quick rundown of so if anybody out there plays on the Oculus Quest 2, I do have a recommendation for you, and it's quick. I won't go too far into it. I know we're kind of the episode's running a little longer.
Oh no, swing away. I mean, most podcasts go for like 4 or 5 hours. You're good, man.
Yeah, I know. We like to keep it kind of at a minimal though. But so for time's sake, I do want to recommend the Oculus Quest 2 VR game, and it's in the App Lab, so it's free right now. It's in beta, and it's called Battle Talent. So this game is essentially what you would want to play if you couldn't access and/or can't afford Blade and Sorcery. It is a physics-based action kind of melee fight game, except kind of like an arcade game, I'd like to say. There's a few levels you could play in it. I think there's like 4 different missions right now, because it's in beta. The 2 of them are like wave after wave, like enemies coming after you and see if you could survive. It's like an arena mode. And then the other 2 are maze missions. You kind of delve into a dungeon and you find upgrades for yourself throughout the way. There's curses, which like a curse would, like, if you accept it, you can decrease your max health by like 40, but whenever you deal damage, you gain HP back. So think of it as like, oh, you lose max health, but you gain essentially like vampirism. Then there's it is a physics-based game, so VR physics-based games are so much fun whenever it's a combat-style game, which I love, especially for, those who kind of like to have a good stress relief. Granted, not all of us use them for those. There are those of us who also just use it for the parkour aspect of it. You take 2 daggers, stab it into a wood wall, and climb all the way up. Granted, I wouldn't recommend it if you have a fear of heights, but that's besides the point. It's a very fun game. It has a lot to do with magic as well. There's even a gun, which is a very interesting take on a dungeon delver where you're fighting skeletons and goblins. Yeah, you just kind of there's a pistol that uses mana to shoot. You could also get like a bow and arrow, and there is like a level up system, but not really. Whenever you go through missions, you get coins, and you use those coins to level up your max HP, max mana points, and then you could also make it so that you find, like, you unlock weapons that you'll find throughout the maze, on the maze level. Like, you eventually unlock, like, a bow and arrow you can find in there, and then after you unlock that, the branch will grow, and then you'll get, like, a mighty bow, which you can use mana to, like, put extra power into, like, the wind of the shot. which that has like it'll like throw back whatever enemy it hits whenever you use the mana to do it. There's so many weapons in the game. I myself haven't even unlocked all of them. But each weapon has its own stats. There's a sword that you can swing repeatedly, and if you're using, mana while you're swinging it, the range of the blade gets bigger with each swing. It's a very fun time. It's a really good way to kill time, and best of all, it's free. It's a good, fun experience. You could turn the gore and everything else off. You can, there is like limb severing, and like if you wanted that all to be in there, you can turn like the blood, gore, and everything else off if you wanted to. But what's the fun in that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, that's a real quick rundown of it. I'd love to go, more into it, but that's kind of what I had prepared. I did just want to mention that and make sure that people knew about it. It is in the App Lab, so it doesn't show up in the store unless you search for it. So make sure you search up Battle Talent and give it a try. If you like it, make sure you reach out to us, tell us what you think. If you don't like it, tell me I'm an idiot. That's okay too. But yeah, I'm hoping that I can eventually make this like a regular thing. VR games can kind of get expensive, but I'd like to still make mention of any that I play and that I enjoy, so that way you guys can also kind of get an inkling of what you might like. I'll try to branch out my own horizons and try new things, which hopefully that way I can find something that everybody can enjoy eventually.
Yeah, if you guys want us to check anything out, any games, movies, shows, or anything like that, board games even, just hit us up.
Yeah, board games.
We are open to all fans of everything. We're nerds. The geeks have inherited the earth.
Yeah.
So we're just riding the wave.
Hey, the world could be better for it, though.
Yeah, exactly. We could change. Could make things better. Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone. I'm going to do a shout out this time because it is kind of even if it's silly and even if it's a small milestone, it's a milestone nonetheless. So thanks to everyone who has ever listened to us anywhere. It's really been awesome. I don't think either of us expected as many people to have listened as they have. I figured it would probably get like 2 or 3 per episode if I was lucky. We're trending a lot higher than that, so I mean it's really it's touching, it's awesome. So I just want to say thanks to DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Doctor Who, Dishonored, Lord of the Rings, Magic the Gathering, everything, all the fans, Jesus fans,
of course, Dungeons and Dragons,
fans, just every nerd, every fun person, everybody who's more interesting than a boring accountant. Not that accountants suck; they can be great, but
accountants can be fun. But we get what you mean.
Thank you for being, because the world's so much more fun, with all of us nerds in it. It just makes things more interesting. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, it's a absolute pleasure to be able to do this and to be able to be heard for it. And it'd be even better if eventually you guys could reach out to us, let us know what you think. And I mean, hell, if you guys even have recommendations, things you want to hear us talk about. I know we do film and game reviews, but if there's ever even a topic you want to hear our thoughts on, granted, we kind of have to draw a line somewhere, but I mean, I'm sure either Rango or I would be more than happy to, share our thoughts with you guys, our viewers, and we do have some plans in motion for the future and expanding and finding new ways to be in touch and share the experience with you. So thank you again. It has been crazy. We haven't expected nearly as much to come out of this as it has. And Rango, my friend, you've done a great job so far. I've missed the majority of the big the interviews so far. I have missed all of them, but my busy schedule should die down relatively soon, and we should be able to make things work a little better.
No worries, man. We do have we do have that big one coming up. There's gonna be a lot of planning around that.
And it's very exciting.
It's gonna be great.
I really can't wait.
And, yeah, I know we keep teasing people.
It will be amazing to talk and
but,
get to know her, and yeah, absolutely.
It'll be great. It's been a wild ride. It's been fun, and you've been awesome as well. Thank you so much for everything you've contributed. And yeah, I just can't wait to expand to people, so we can do all sorts of stuff with all sorts of different platforms. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And then if you want to check us out, you can hit up our Patreon. We're on Gonzo Film Reviews. We're on Twitter at Gonzo Reviews and at Cloud1271. So definitely get in touch if you guys are interested, and there will be more giveaways soon, so keep an eye out on the Twitter for that. That's pretty much all I got.
Alright, well, and remember, guys, if you did enjoy this podcast, make sure to save us to your podcast list, follow us, subscribe, whatever it is, so that you're notified when our next weekly episode is posted. We post on Thursdays. Should be every Thursday, as long as we aren't slacking on it. So, thanks guys again, and we'll catch you guys next time.
So long.